Okay, good morning everyone. Today we shall talk about the third part of our chapter, Pragmatics, which is speech acts. And in order to know what is meant by speech acts, we need to make a distinction between form and function. Or form and meaning. For example, if I ask somebody the following question, could you swim? The expected answer is either yes or no, right? Because this is a yes-no question. The aim of this question is to ask for information. But if I tell somebody, could you show me the way to the post office? Now, is the answer going to be yes or no? Sorry. So, when I say the following question, could you show me the way to the post office? The expected answer is not yes or no, because actually this is not a yes-no question. This is a request. The speaker is asking the listener to give him, and he or she is asking politely, in a polite way, to give him the directions to the post office. This is not a yes-no question, but you see, both of them are constructed like questions, and actually we need to make a distinction, as I said, between form and function, or structure and function. Look at these examples. For example, did you eat the pizza? The structure is interrogative. The structure is an interrogative. The function is question. Why? Because we are asking for information. يعني الfunction is related to meaning, while structure is related to form. And look at this example. Eat the pizza, please. The structure is imperative, لكن the function is a command. لكن if we add please, إذا أضفنا له please راح يصير request. This is a request. You see, the same sentence could be command, could be request, depending on the word please, whether we add please or not. And if I say you ate the pizza, the structure is declarative, and the function is a statement to give information. In sentence number 1, we are asking for information. In sentence number 3, we are giving information. And if we give information, the sentence is called a statement. The function is a statement, while the structure is a declarative sentence. Then in structure, we have 3 main structures. The sentence is either interrogative, imperative, or declarative. But the functions are so many. The functions, and by the way, this list is not exclusive. That is to say, we can add other functions to these speech acts. You know, communication in general has always been a necessity in human life. So we use language to communicate. And in pragmatics, we are concerned with, if you remember, the study of meaning. Which meaning? A hidden meaning. A hidden meaning, invisible meaning. إذا لما نرجع إلى هاي الجمل and we say somebody ask, could you show me the way to the post office? In this case, the listener is not seeking, is not after a yes, no, and you walk away as a listener, but the listener is after directions. يبقى السؤال why the listener says the question like this. We shall talk about this when we talk about politeness, because it is related to politeness. So speech acts, as we said, speech acts. Actually, the speech acts theory represents a sort of a distinction. يعني نوضح بصورة مبسطة، ما ندخل بالتفاصيل الصعبة. A sort of a distinction between form and meaning, between structure and function. You know, our book, or the author of our book, George Yule, says that pragmatics is the study of speaker meaning. Pragmatics is the study of contextual meaning. Pragmatics is the study of how to get more communicated than it is said. Pragmatics is the study of the expression of relative distance. And this relative distance makes us aware of how to use the appropriate sentence in an appropriate situation. So, if you see your friend, you don't need to use this type of sentence. Could you show me the way to the post office? Because this is a very polite way. You may say, simply speaking, where is the post office? Or do you know where the post office is? Why you are so direct? Because you are talking to your friend. You are not talking to a stranger. And this is related to social distance, or related to relative distance, as George Yule called it. And speech acts in this case is a topic or a subdivision of pragmatics. It often takes place in verbal and non-verbal communication. Speech acts are the study of how the speakers and hearers use language. Because the action itself in verbal communication has message in itself. So when we speak, it is not a matter of communicating by using language, but through actions. Through actions. That's why speech acts can be divided or can be put in three types, let's say. There are three types of speech acts, or they have three subdivisions actually, because the types are different. There are about 6 types of speech acts. First, we have locutionary acts. We have locutionary acts. locutionary act is roughly equivalent to uttering certain utterances with certain sense and reference, which again is roughly equivalent to meaning in traditional sense. That is to say, we take the sentence meaning as it is. So, if I say any sentence, for example, it is hot in this room, I mean it is hot. I mean it is hot. The other type is illocutionary act. The illocutionary act is performed via the communicative force of an utterance, such as promising, apologizing, offering. وهذا كل الكلام is found in your chapter. So if you promise somebody, this is an illocutionary act. Why? Because you say something and there is an effect or consequence, or there is an act related to that sentence or to that meaning, which is the act of promising or apologizing or offering. The third type, طبعا أنا أشرحها ببساطة ما أريد أدخل بالتفاصيل, as I said. The third type is perlocutionary act. Perlocutionary act. And perlocutionary act is the act that is carried out by a speaker when making an utterance in certain effect on the hearer and others. So you have an effect on the hearer or the reader, and this effect of your sentence, of your utterance, is called perlocutionary act. Perlocutionary act is, or can be also defined as the act offering someone. These acts refer to the effect the utterance has on the thoughts or actions of the other person. Perlocutionary act is specific to the circumstances of issuance, يعني اللحظة اللي قيلت بها الجملة, and is therefore not conventionally achieved just by uttering that particular utterance, and includes all those effects, intended or unintended. This is in a brief what is meant by speech acts, or direct and indirect speech acts, or these three types. ونرجع إلى هذا النوع الثالث perlocutionary act حتى نعرف نوضح what is meant by the effect, the word effect. هنا كلش مهمة in this part. لاحظ, if a couple, a man and woman, go to a judge, القاضي اللي يزوجهم, أو إحنا نقول الشيخ أو السيد إلى آخره. They are not married. They are not married. But once the judge says, I announce you as a husband and wife, they become a married couple. هذا الحد الفاصل between before they get married really and they become married is what? Is an utterance said by the judge أو الشخص المسؤول, whether قلنا السيد أو شيخ إلى آخره, رجل دين, clergyman, he says, I announce you a husband and wife. هذه اللحظة بالذات of pronouncing this sentence, this utterance, makes this couple lawfully married by the force of law or by the effect of that sentence. I think now the idea is clear. Let's move to the other part of the lecture. Today we shall talk about pragmatics and politeness. Politeness, you know what is meant by politeness, right? But politeness might differ from one culture to another. وهي أيضا حقيقة نعرفها. Politeness is not the same around the world, around languages. It might differ from one culture to another. And the ways it is understood are different, and the concepts or conceptualization of linguistic politeness is rather vague, especially when the technical term of politeness is used in the pragmatic and socio-linguistic study of socio-communicative verbal interaction. So politeness is different from one culture to another. And the way by which we express this politeness, again, is going to be different from one culture to another and from one language to another. Because we know each culture is represented by its own language. So there are different ways to express politeness. شوفوا نحن عندنا بالعربي, for example, you use certain words when we talk to somebody. حضرتك, this is in standard Arabic. سيادتك. And in English we have the same thing. Your Excellency, Your Highness, Your Majesty. These are expressions used to show politeness. Linguistic politeness across cultures may not be expressed by a unique lexical term, but there are specific ways of expressing such a context. يعني, it is not necessary to use a linguistic term to show politeness. Right? نرجع إلى هاي الجملة. لاحظ هنا there is no reference to using please, for example. ماكو فد عبارة في هذه الجملة أو كلمة that shows politeness. إذا أقول لك where is politeness in this sentence, وين هالكلمة اللي خلتك تشعر إنه this is politeness in this sentence? There is no single word, right? But if you look at the structure altogether, the whole structure expresses politeness. So this structure is put in a suitable context. It shows politeness. It shows politeness. ودائما أذكر لكم هذا المثال. When you need a leave, إجازة, or a permission not to attend a lecture, you go to your professor in his or her office and you say, sir, I have a headache. I have a terrible headache. Or I feel sick today. Okay. نرجع الآن إلى at the beginning of the lecture قلنا نفرق بين structure and form. Structure and form. What is the structure of the sentence? It is a declarative sentence, right? This is a declarative sentence. طبعا usually if it is a direct speech act, the direct meaning of this sentence is to give information. تكون statement. لكن is this sentence a statement? No, actually. Yes, it is a declarative sentence, but it is not a statement. Why? If it is said to a doctor, هذا نرجع نربط بين الموضوعين ونشوف تأثير الكونتكست. If it is said by a patient to a doctor, it is a statement. Why? Because it gives information. And in this case, this is a very direct speech act. But if it is said by a student to his teacher or her teacher, is this a statement? Is the aim is to give information? No, actually. The aim is to ask for permission, not to attend the class. هذا الطالب يريد ياخذ إجازة. فinstead of saying I want a leave, إذا يقولها بطريقة very direct, the student is going to be considered as rude, or the student is threatening the face of his teacher. The student is a native speaker of the language, of course, and he or she is very aware of face. حفظ ماء الوجه احنا نقول. If you are direct, you are going to be very rude. You are threatening the face of your listener. Instead of that, you have to be indirect in order to save face of the listener. تحافظ على ما وجهه. So instead of saying I want a leave, or I cannot attend your lecture, or I need a permission not to attend your lecture, you are going to use a very indirect speech act to show politeness. لاحظ اللي غير المعنى شنو بهاي الجملة؟ The context. قلنا if it is said by a student, by patient to a doctor, it shows information. It gives information. It is a direct speech act. يروح المريض للطبيب يقول له عندي صداع، انتهت. But if it is said by a student to teacher, his or her teacher, now the context is different and the meaning is different, because your teacher is not a doctor, but actually you need a leave or permission not to attend the lecture. So you are, as a native speaker, very aware of the politeness strategies. You know how to be or how to use politeness strategies. One of these strategies is to be indirect. The more you are indirect, the more you are polite. Okay, this is the strategy. The more you are indirect, the more you are very polite. So you say, I have a headache, in order to be highly appreciated by teacher. And not only this, but in order to save the face of your teacher. And face is a fundamental, هاي الكلمة مهمة in politeness. Face is a fundamental concept in sociolinguistics and in pragmatic sorry. احنا نقول نحافظ على ماء وجه الشخص، فهو هذا الفيس. According to Goffman عنده كتاب عن sociolinguistics, he says that face is a mask. Face is a mask. You know mask? Right, good. That changes depending on the audience, مستمعينك يعني أو قراءك, and the variety of social interaction. People strive to maintain the face they have created in social situations. They are emotionally attached to their face, so they feel good when their faces are maintained. Loss or face results in emotional pain, so in social interactions, people cooperate by using politeness strategies to maintain each other's face. Face is an important cultural concept in social life. It is the social standing of a person that refers to the identity or image each person wants to claim in interaction. And face work includes it includes the set of actions that are taken by persons to maintain face. I think now the idea is clear. The idea of politeness, the idea of speech acts, the idea of mask or face. We said face is a mask. So your face in pragmatics is your public self-image. كل واحد بينا عنده صورة. And we don't want this image to be harmed, to be attacked. So negative face is the need to be independent and free from imposition. Positive face is the need to be connected, to belong, to be a member of the group. So a face-saving act that emphasizes a person's negative face will show concern about imposition. I think the idea is clear now about face and face saving or face threatening. Well, these are slides that you may have a look at to give you the main idea of the topic, in addition to my lecture, in addition to my presentation. And if you have any questions, please go to the classroom and feel free to ask. Okay, hope to see you next time.